Hello and welcome to Ancient History 101. We are a brand new show about everything to do with ancient Greece, Rome, their neighbours, their allies, their enemies. And because this podcast is so new, I thought it would be rude of me not to introduce myself, introduce the podcast, and explain who we are, how our episodes are going to work, and what we want to achieve. My name is Alexandra Sills. I'm from the UK, and I have a couple of degrees in the history of the ancient Mediterranean. And I've done all of that work so that you don't have to. I spent part of my time as an independent scholar, which means that I don't currently study or work at a university. I'm completely independent, but I do still do some research and write for academic publications. But I'm also what's known as a public historian, and that's the part of my job I love the most because it means I get to talk to anyone and everyone about this, my favourite subject. So I get to write articles, I get to guide tours, I work in museums, I give talks, I've even written a book, and I wanted to create a podcast. One of the reasons I wanted to make a podcast isn't just because they're entertaining and educational, but because I have freedom. I'm not surrounded by a committee of executives and producers and editors. Because what I found is that when educational entertainment is created with a committee behind it, historians can feel pressured to dumb down the material, to stick to a really narrow range of topics. And that's because these executives, they want to make a lot of money. Now, this show isn't intended to make any money, so I don't have to censor myself and I don't have to limit myself. What this means for you as the listener is that we can cover as many topics as we like. Now, I could do this whole show as a solo project, but my ego isn't that big and I don't love the sound of my own voice that much. And it would be so lonely. Where's the fun in that? Besides, every ancient historian, classicist, and archaeologist, they all have their own areas of expertise. And I'm qualified to talk about my research, sure, but then I wouldn't get to cover every single topic that I think you'll be interested in and that I definitely want to know more about. There is so much to learn, and no ancient historian, even the professional ones, are ever going to learn all of it, but my God, do I want to try. So, as well as Greece and Rome, we will be visiting Carthage, Egypt, Persia, so much more. That covers a huge geographical span, centuries and centuries of history, and we're going to be talking about military history, the history of art, literature, archaeology, politics, philosophy. I can't do all of those justice by myself. So each week I invite one of my friends from the academic world to talk about a different topic, one that they know like the back of their hands. I'm not going to lie, I'm doing this for really, really selfish reasons. Essentially, I just love learning and want to carry on doing it as much as possible. And I'm guessing that if you're here for this kind of show, you love learning too, so why not come along for the ride? I have carefully selected some of the best experts in the business. I have academics, authors, teachers, museum professionals, and more. And all that means that you get cutting edge research from people that you know they know what they're talking about. The world of the ancient Mediterranean is really, really fascinating. Why do you think there are so many movies and novels and video games in the first place? And why do you think so many of us go to archaeological sites on holiday? Some of the Greek and Roman cities around the Mediterranean are some of the most visited tourist attractions in the world. And we're all surrounded by the ancient world all the time, not just by what the ancients left behind, but what generations before us have copied from the ancient world. So I don't just want to talk about the parts of the ancient world that we know about already. I want to make the other parts of the ancient world feel less unfamiliar, less distant, and less alien. And for those of us who love reading books, going to the cinema, and firing up our games consoles, all of those can feel really immersive and authentic, as if we're in the ancient world ourselves. But how are we able to tell what's accurate and what's been added to these just to make a good story? For instance, if you're British like me, I can almost guarantee that unless you went to a mega posh school that costs hundreds of thousands of pounds a year, you probably won't have studied Greeks and Romans since you were about 9. And very few American high schools have dedicated ancient history classes either. If you turn on the TV, you're probably going to see someone telling you that everything from the ancient world was built by aliens. Or you'll see some politician or billionaire comparing themselves to a Roman emperor or a gladiator. And all of this is really weird, right? Because it's clear that we still have this fascination with the ancient world, but it's not being taught in schools that much. And learning about ancient history as a hobby, that can be intimidating too, because there is just so much to learn, so many common misconceptions that we need to unlearn, and so much context that gets lost along the way. If you search for something online these days, you're probably going to get some AI-generated nonsense. Stocking your own private library of history books can be mega expensive, and some of those books are really long and difficult to read. And the vast majority of current scholarship is locked away behind publisher paywalls and university library doors. I've spent decades working with tourists. It's one of my favourite things to do in the world. And they often tell me that they would love to learn more, but they just don't have a clue where to start or who to ask. And that sometimes they even feel bad about not knowing more already or being unable to learn on their own because they don't know where to find all this good information. And that's nothing to feel bad about. All of us have limited resources, limited time. All of us started somewhere. No one is born an expert. And what I want to prove is that you don't have to spend years and years studying at school and university to be able to understand the ancient world. I created Ancient History 101 to be like an alternative to school and university because there's 100 reasons why someone wouldn't want to study the ancient world formally. Maybe you chose subjects that you loved more, or that would get you a better job, or that you were just a bit better at. Or maybe university isn't for you at all. Not everyone wants to take out a huge number of student loans, spend years sitting in a library, writing constant assignments. Every reason for not going to university is valid, believe me, and I'm not going to judge anyone for not going. Sometimes it's as simple as you like a subject, you just don't want to spend your whole life dedicated to it, and that's entirely fair. So whether or not you wanted to go to university, whether or not you were able to go to university, it doesn't matter. You still deserve to be able to access good history that's well told. So I've taken everything great about my university experience, which was the faculty, and ditched everything that we don't need. So there are no tuition fees, there's no exams, there's no academic jargon, and there's no 50 hours of assigned reading a week to create an online university that provides a comprehensive curriculum just without the campus. It really doesn't matter about your educational background, and it doesn't matter about how much you know already. You might be a casual kind of listener who just wants to listen to the episodes that really grab their attention, and you're happy with just the basics. Or you might be the kind of listener who wants to listen to every single episode available, make notes, build up that knowledge, and then use it to go on to read more advanced books and listen to more advanced shows. So whether you're a complete novice but you're really interested, or you know quite a lot already and you just want to plug those holes in your knowledge, Ancient History 101 is going to be the show for you. You get to decide what you want to learn and where and when you want to learn it. I'm bringing the experts to you with top-notch teaching, but it's completely informal and relaxed. And as an added bonus, I'll be asking all of our experts to talk about their methods and processes too. So how do historians know what they say they know? Do we know as much as we think we do? How are we supposed to approach ancient sources? Can we take them at face value? And how do we excavate ancient sites? In other words, come for the stories and stay for the skills. And I also want Ancient History 101 to be a study resource for students from school all the way up to undergrad. I definitely had a class or two where a tutor used a term or a reference and they expected us all to be familiar with it, and I felt like a complete dunce when I didn't have a clue what they were talking about. The last thing I want is for anyone to feel stupid. And you should never feel guilty that you don't know everything. No ancient historian knows everything. There is so much to learn and so much context that you need to connect every topic together. It can be really tough to keep up, particularly if the subject isn't your major or you didn't do this at school. Never ever feel bad that you don't know something. None of us know all of it. So the next time your teacher says everyone knows this and you don't, there's no need to panic. We hope to have an episode ready for you to catch up easily and quickly so that by the next class, you've got everything that you need to contribute and succeed. There are podcasts that just do stories and they're really entertaining. And there are podcasts that are more advanced with a narrower scope and they're great too. I don't want to replace them. I just kind of want to sit in the middle. That's why I've created a podcast with every episode starting from the absolute basics. But by the end of each episode, you will know everything essential about that topic, and you'll be able to move forward. So whether you're looking for a study aid to help you with school, or you're a lifelong learner for whom history is a hobby, I want everyone to experience what I was lucky enough to experience: an education in a subject that you care about. Time spent with stories that fascinate us even after all of these centuries, and new perspectives that change how you see the ancient world and the modern world that you live in. I've been hard at work recording our first season, and I'm really proud of the results. We have a diverse group of expert contributors, some of them you may have heard of already, and some you'll be really happy to get to know. And we have a great lineup of topics, some you may have heard of already, and some that you will be happy to get to know. Each episode will have a dedicated page on our website where you can find recommendations for further reading, supplementary materials our experts think you might find useful, like maps, timelines, images, and family trees. You can also find us on social media. If this is the kind of show that you think you might be interested in, why not give us a follow and learn a bit more? You can find all of the relevant links in the episode description. Ancient History 101 is a proud part of the Mnemosyne Memory Collective, creators and educators dedicated to sharing knowledge that's accessible, contextualised, socially conscious and inclusive. That's an ethos that we hold really dear, and we couldn't be happier to be in a group of such talented and lovely creators and to embody the vital values that the collective shares. History is for everyone. It doesn't matter about your background, your identity. History is for you. And we want all of you to feel welcome and valued. So whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever your background, come and join us at Ancient History 101, where we can all learn about ancient Greece and Rome together. It is my biggest ambition to bridge that gap between academia and the general public, bring you both together and have some great conversations, and we would love it if you joined us.